So thanks everyone for being here tonight with us. Clarence, thanks so much for giving us your time tonight. We appreciate getting to sit with you this evening. Just really fast, I want to go on ahead and just kind of go through Clarence Heyward's bio. He was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. He's now based in Raleigh, North Carolina. He is a painter and a collagist whose work explores notions of the Black experience, the Black American experience. He works primarily between painting and collage, aiming to explore and incite dialogue around the culture, identity, and circumstances of his experience as a Black man in the United States. Heyward has shown his work nationally, including the 21C Museum of Durham. Was that the show you were talking about?
No.
Okay. The Harvey B. Gantt Center for Cultural Arts, the Block Gallery Raleigh, the National Museum of Art at Duke University, and the Contemporary Art Museum of Raleigh, also known as CAM. He was a recipient of the Brightwork Fellowship Residency at Anchor Light in North Carolina in 2020, the Emerging Artist in Residence at ArtSpace North Carolina in 2021, and was the 2022 Artist in Residence at NC State University. Clarence has also completed a 2022 residency at Ragdale in Chicago. His work can be found in many public and private collections, such as in the collections of the North Carolina Museum of Art, the City of Raleigh Municipal Collection, the Nasher Museum of Art at Duke, the Rebel Museum in Miami, and his first solo exhibition at CAM in Raleigh, Unseen, is currently on view, which closes on September the 16th. So if you're in the area or you want to make a trip, go check it out. Also, right now, Clarence's piece, In My Hood, number 2A, can be seen in WMA's main gallery until September 24th in our biennial exhibition. So also, before Clarence gets going, I want to let y'all know we are going to do a Q&A afterwards. So if you have questions, there's a Q&A box or a chat box. Feel free to, you can go ahead and queue them up as they come to you, and we'll get to them after. Or if you want to wait until the Q&A starts, that's cool too. So I'm going to bow out now. Are you good with, okay, got it. All right. Thanks so much, Clarence. Looking forward to it.
All right. Good evening. This is always a little weird because I'm talking to myself. I guess I'll start off with a picture of myself. This is me, Clarence Heyward. Okay, I guess I'll start off with my story. I have not always been an artist, and actually I've only been a professional full-time working artist for 4 to 5 years now. Before that, I was a truck driver. And before that, I went to college for art education at North Carolina Central University. And before that, I went to Performing Arts High School. And before that, I majored in art at a middle school, a specialized middle school in New York City. The first slide is just a picture of something I used to do back when I was truck driving. So usually I would sketch from time to time. And in 2015, I made a sketch kind of talking about the death of Eric Gardner in New York. He was choked out for selling cigarettes on the corner. His last words was, "I can't breathe." And that kind of touched me. And I made a piece about it. At the time, you know, it was just something to do. I didn't even have any plans on it. It was just, I guess, me getting the urge out because I'm on the inside, I was an artist, I guess. Again, this is a piece I made in 2018 before I became a full-time artist. It's just a Black Lives Matter piece. This is kind of the stuff that I was thinking about. All right, here's my first painting. It's titled Saturday Morning, and it was done in 2018, and it was done in preparation for me becoming a full-time artist. The story goes, before I became a full-time artist and I was a truck driver, I tell people I had a midlife crisis. And after conversations with my wife, we decided that I would become an artist. and she gave me a timeline. I had a year to prepare for this journey I was about to embark on. She made a studio at the house for me, and after I would get off from work, I would come home and just draw and paint. And before 2018, I had never made a painting in acrylic, and I had never made a painting outside of the classroom. So this is a painting of my daughter. A lot of my work now is actually about my family and my family's experiences. But back then, she was like an easy model, somebody I had access to. So I made a painting and I titled it Saturday Morning. And looking back on it, I kind of cringe, right? But I mean, it's where I was at the time. Also in 2018, in preparation for becoming a full-time artist, I made this painting called Black Boy. And a lot of my work then was inspired by events that happened and that I saw in the media. So this is a painting based on a story that I saw about a young boy who had murdered another young boy, and it kind of inspired me to make a piece talking about it. 2019. So upon leaving my job in 2018, 2019, upon leaving my job in 2019, I got a residency at Anchorlight in Raleigh. And it was my first time having a full-time studio outside of my house. And this is kind of what the work looked like. It was me like transitioning, looking for a style, searching for a style. These two people are no one in particular, but at the time I was making a lot of work with graphics and text and just playing around with composition and color and kind of just figuring out what I wanted to do, like what my work would look like. So you can see this is some pieces I made while at that residency. I kind of had a thing for the American flag at this point. A lot of my work was just talking about me figuring out what it meant for me to be an American. It was a lot of me playing around with composition and colors and really just searching for a style because I didn't have one. So it was like whatever felt good. In college, I took a couple graphic design courses and I kind of was infatuated with it. That's why you see a lot of hard lines in my work or patterns, and it has a lot of graphic elements. And also, I mean, there's political statements in each piece. But once again, I kind of was always drawn to, to political statements. The second child, this is a painting of my youngest daughter, my second child. And this piece was actually accepted into an exhibition at the Contemporary Art Museum of Raleigh in 2019. And this is one of the pieces that kind of put me on the map in this area. My style started to change and it became a little more refined, I guess. This painting is acrylic on canvas with silver leaf. So while at the residency at Anchorlight, I started playing around with gold leaf and silver leaf, kind of to add a textural element to my work because it's really flat. And I noticed when I put the leafing behind it, the figures kind of pop. This is also the first real painting that I sold that during that year of me transitioning into becoming a real artist. Not a real artist, but a full-time working artist. I've always been a real artist, right? So these are the collages that I started working on during the residency. Before the residency, I had never made a collage, but I was painting so much, I kind of needed a break. And I started studying other artists, and they had a lot of like collage elements and mixed media elements. So I just tried my hand at it, and it's something I kind of got good at. And it actually was a lifeline for me during that time because my paintings didn't really sell at first. It was my collages that kind of got me noticed. So once again, this is me playing around with the gold leaf and the silver leaf. Once again, this is the American flag really popping up in a lot of my early works. This piece is We Were Naked and Not Afraid. I guess I can go into detail on what it's about. It's really about how do I put it? I guess in Africa, before Africans were brought to America, you see us on National Geographic and, naked with no clothes on and everything. So I kind of was playing off of that. So that's why I'm like kind of draped in the boys kind of draped in the flag, but it's also like we were naked and not afraid. And it's also a reference to a quote in the Bible. Adam didn't know he was naked until the first sin was committed. And I believe America's first sin was, the introduction of slavery. So I came up with this composition, We Were Naked and Not Afraid. Then there's No Place Like Home. This piece is kind of referencing Malcolm X's speech when he said, we didn't land on Plymouth Rock landed on us. That's why the two boys who are shackled have Plymouth Rock behind them with a dark cloud above them. Born and Bred, this is another collage. You see the American flag motif again. And it's really just talking about how America kind of sucks the natural resources out of Africa, with the number one resource that I'm referencing being the people, right? So America was built on the backs of slavery, and that's kind of what this piece is referencing. Okay, this is another political piece. It's called A Recipe for Disaster. I kind of made this piece as I talked to a lot of artists in my community. I noticed anytime you spoke about politics, religion, war, and there's the poison representing like drugs and alcohol, the conversation always went left. So it kind of inspired me to make this piece, A Recipe for Disaster, kind of signifying things that we probably shouldn't bring up in conversation. Burn, Baby, Burn. I made this piece in 2020 during the height of COVID and the rioting in the country. And this is before January 6th happened, right? But at the time, everybody was saying that the city should burn and everything. And I can't say I disagreed too much with them. And I kind of was inspired to make this piece, called Burn, Baby, Burn. It's like a Black guy walking through the streets smiling. His head is on fire. And he's holding the American flag, which is, it has a hole in it because it's broken. All right, this is me transitioning back to painting after I took a small break to focus on collage for a while. I only showed about 5 collages, but during that time I probably made 50. This is a portrait of Idris Sandu. He's a very interesting guy out of California. He's like a tech genius. And I kind of was just inspired to make a piece by him. I kind of, like regular people who just do big things. I'm not really a big fan of like the celebrity culture. So I made a piece kind of in tribute to him. And it's titled The One. And my wife majored in computer science, and she, told me about coding language. And I figured since he was into computers and he writes code, I would put the code for one at the top and emboss it in gold leaf. That's me playing around with materials and figuring things out in the studio. And it's something I kind of embedded into my practice, no pun intended, the gold leaf and the embossing. And once again, I like how the metal leaf makes the figure pop forward. This is called antonymous. Yes, it is a word. I looked it up. This piece is kind of referencing the collages that I spent a lot of time making. When I got back into painting, I kind of was thinking in collage form. So this painting feels like a collage, and in real life it feels like a collage because the way it's like layered There's vinyl lettering in the back that you can't see in the photo, but this piece has a lot of texture to it. There's gold leaf on this piece that doesn't really show on the photo. And this piece is really me talking about not belonging to one group in particular and trying to find my way. Like, I'm African American, but I was looking for, my roots, and also being American. And also I'm referencing the David Hammond's African American flag that hangs in front of the Studio Museum of Harlem at the bottom. And it really was a big puzzle, me trying to put together of all of these things that make me who I am. And that was antonymous. And this is one of the first pieces that I had on my first solo show at the end of my residency at Anchorlight. This is another piece entitled Mandingo Mindset, from that show that I had at Anchorlight. The title of the show was called Descendants of Sire. It's a long story about this piece, but this piece is referencing my introduction to what it meant to be Black. So as a young child, I think I was 8 or 9 years old, my stepfather showed me the movie Mandingo, and that was the first time I really experienced, like, I guess racism on film, I guess I would say. Like, it's a pretty brutal movie. So I'm kind of painting myself as a character in the movie, kind of looking at the viewer. Yeah, this painting is kind of tough to look at. It still hangs in my studio right now. It's one that I didn't sell. I don't know if I'll ever let it go because it kind of has a deep meaning, but yeah, that's Mandingo Mindset. Okay, this piece is a portrait of William Paul Thomas. I was invited by William to exhibit in Raleigh, North Carolina. And it was 4 artists, and one of the prompts that we gave each other was to paint each other. So we drew straws out of a hat, and whoever you got is who you painted. So I painted William Paul Thomas, who was pretty much a local legend here in Raleigh, the Raleigh-Durham area. And this is how it turned out. It's a pretty big piece. It's 48 by 60. It hung in the city. So it hung in City Hall, and the first day it hung, someone came in and purchased it. So I guess it was a good piece. This is Byproduct, which is from the show Descendants of Sire. And this piece is on view right now in Greensboro, North Carolina, at the Green Hill Center for the Arts. If you're in the area, you can see it in person. It's a pretty large painting. It's 48 by 30. It's a self-portrait, and it's me still talking about or trying to figure out, what it means to be a Black American. There's some symbolism here. If you notice, I have the handcuff around my wrist. I have the American flag motifed hat that I wear in a lot of my portraits. It's almost like part of a uniform. And I have on these fatigue pants, and I wear these in a lot of paintings because it kind of symbolizes that there's a war against Black bodies in America. And it's also why in a lot of my paintings, I'll pair shirtless so I can show my body. Funny story about that, at a recent artist talk I had, a guy came up to me and told me that he was inspired that I was unafraid to paint myself full-figured. I didn't realize I was full-figured, but I guess I am. This is another painting that was in that show, Liberty. It's called Liberty Enlightening the World. It's a portrait of my wife. It's me envisioning her as the Statue of Liberty because she is my beacon of hope. So I wanted to make a piece to make a tribute to her. And this piece is now owned by the city of Raleigh, and it hangs in one of the buildings downtown. I have not seen it there yet, but it's there. Okay, this is food for thought. This is me, once again, referring to my graphic design experience from college. I'm referencing actually a magazine cover, and it's a play on what came first, the chicken or the egg, but it's a play on the stereotypes of, Black people and chickens and watermelons. There's a whole story behind it. When I was scheduled to have an exhibition, I talked to the exhibitions director about the opening, and I asked if we could serve chicken and watermelon, and she told me no because she thought it was racist. And when I asked her why, she didn't know why, and actually I didn't know why either. I just knew it was a stereotype. So I did some research into it and realized that it's actually not racist to eat chicken and watermelon. The racism came in through, I guess, white supremacy and the fact that after this slavery ended, watermelons was a crop that a lot of Black people grew because back then everybody ate watermelon and it was very profitable. And that's when, I guess marketing and graphic design was used to create these characters and kind of deter Black people from growing the crop. They called it stupid and a bunch of other horrible things. So I kind of wanted to make a piece talking about it, and it also was a way for me to get my chicken and watermelon at the reception. So when I delivered the work, the director, she just laughed and said, "Hey, I see you got your chicken and watermelon." But I think it's a very interesting piece, and I got talked about a lot during the show. Okay, this is PTSD. Once again, this is another piece from that show. So I guess that show had a lot of, I would say, strong pieces, and you can see I was very busy in preparation for that show. It was one of the first times that I built a whole body of work, and I had something to say. So first time I really built a cohesive body of work. So once again, it's me with the uniform on, with the fatigue pants, with the hat, shirtless, with a handcuff, but this time it's from behind. And I embossed the Pledge of Allegiance in the gold leaf. And this is referencing growing up as a child and having to, stand up every morning and read and, say the Pledge of Allegiance. And then growing up and you realize as a Black man in America, it doesn't really apply to me. And I just wanted to make a piece talking about it. And this piece is now in the collection of the National Museum at Duke University. So, people will see it for a long time. This is Tug of War. Another piece from that show. That show had a lot of pieces. I think it was about 17 pieces I made for that show. This is another big piece. It's 48 by 60. Once again, I'm using the silver leaf, and I'm using the graphic elements of the flag actually in the background, and the actual flag is there. And that shirt took forever to paint, but it was worth it. I get a lot of questions about this piece and what is it about? And actually, it's about the shirt. I got that shirt from TJ Maxx, and then I was conflicted as to why I needed to purchase that shirt. So I made a piece. Everyone thinks it's me like fighting America. It's kind of like showing the internal struggle I'm having about, having roots to Africa that I don't really know what they are, but then fighting, what it means for me to be an American. All right, here are some just some shots from that exhibition. You can see a lot of the pieces that I talked about. And this is how the show was hung. There's a couple pieces missing, but I kind of just wanted to give you a general idea of what it looked like. This is just a process shot. This is another piece that was in the show. This is what my reference photo looked like. And this is, at the time, what it would look like if I painted it. This is one of the few pieces where I work with copper leaf. Copper leaf is a lot harder to work with than gold and silver. So I don't have many paintings with it in it, but I did play with it in the studio for quite some time, long enough to realize that I didn't like the material. My green phase. So this is one of the first paintings that I made in green. I get a lot of questions about why green. The green is referencing chroma key technology, which is green screen. And I'm using it in a way to kind of symbolize people's projections of what it means to be Black. So a lot of people's perceptions are formed through the media, and that's pretty much how they, get the information on what Blackness is. A lot of it is stereotypical. So I started making people green, kind of referencing that, the media aspect of, what you see. It's also kind of a shot at people who say they don't see color, because if you can't tell that I'm green, then maybe you really don't see color. And once again, this is me. I started playing with a variegated gold leaf, which adds a lot more texture and makes the figure pop even more. It kind of looks psychedelic in this red color. Okay, so this is more of the green with the variegated leaf. This is a piece that's actually in my show at the Contemporary Art Museum of Raleigh. It's called Nuclear Father Figure. There's a series of 4 of these of my family nucleus, me, my wife, and my 2 children. And I kind of made it to be like an introduction to the exhibition, almost like the Brady Bunch, like how, the beginning of the show, everybody starts out on a square. So these pieces are kind of small. They're like 16 by 16 squares. But in the beginning of the show, it's kind of like the Brady Bunch, who we are. And this is just a studio shot and working on some work for that exhibition. This is pretty much what my Monday through Friday looks like. Headphones and paint from about 9 to 5 every day. This is the exhibition photo of my exhibition right now. So if you guys in Alabama can't make it, this is kind of what the space looks like in the main gallery of the Contemporary Art Museum. I think I have 17 or 18 pieces in the show. Of course, they're not all pictured here, but this is what I had in a wide view. So this is what I posted. Oh, before I get to that, I guess I'll talk a little bit about the exhibition. The exhibition is called Unseen, and it was inspired by the murder of George Floyd. So almost all the pieces in the show are me reacting to the death, and then me thinking about what would happen to my family structure if that was to happen to me. So there's pieces, about me and if I was actually murdered, and then it's like, what would happen to my wife, or what would happen to my children. There's a piece, about my grandmother praying for me. There's a piece about, a friend, protesting for me. There's a huge family portrait. There's a reflective piece. So there's a painting in here. I should have put it on this thing, but there's a painting, with someone holding a mirror and asking a question like how do you fit into this situation? I mean, I think it's a really interesting show. It's the first time I incorporated a soundscape into an exhibition. And I think if you can't make it, I think if you go to Cam's website, they have like QR codes where I think you can listen to the soundscape and you can listen to me talking about a couple of the pieces in the exhibition. And I guess, I don't know if I should announce it, but the exhibition is scheduled to travel. So hopefully it will come to a city near you. Okay, now this is referencing, this is a series called In My Hood. This is not all the paintings. In the end, there'll be 50 to 100. Right now, I think I have 12 on the screen. So far, I've completed 16 now. The piece actually in the show at Wiregrass is the third one on the top. It's called In My Hood 2A. Fun fact, In My Hood number 2 was actually supposed to be in the exhibition, but I couldn't get it back from a collector, so I made an alternate, which is In My Hood 2A. And a couple of these also have alternates because collectors saw draw one and wanted another one. So for each of these, I take several reference shots. So if I have to make another one, I can. But ultimately, I want to exhibit, 50 to 100 of these in one gallery space or museum space. The series was inspired by a statement that Geraldo Rivera made after the death of Trayvon Martin, when he said that Trayvon didn't get killed because of the hoodie. I mean, Trayvon didn't get killed because he was Black. He got killed because he was wearing a hoodie, and that Black men in hoodies are dangerous or seen as a threat. So that kind of inspired me to do In My Hood #1, where I painted myself in a hoodie. And then I said, well, what if I do another one? So I did #2. And then I saw Titus Kafour's Jerome project in a book. And I saw his installation shot, and he had about 100 of these paintings in one room, pretty small paintings. But to see them all in one room at the same time was powerful. So I asked myself, like, what if I had 50 of these or 100 of these in one room? Like, how powerful would that be? And how powerful would it be to have, something to counter that statement? 50 Black men and young boys and in one room, and you're surrounded by them, but they're not threatening. And a lot of these are like friends and family, and I don't know 50 people, so I've been reaching out and telling people like, hey, if you know someone who would like to be part of the series, so I've been getting tons of reference photos, and if anybody watching this wants to send one, I'll be happy to put you in it. Just send me information, and I'll let you know when the exhibition is happening, so you can come through. And I think that's it. Hopefully I didn't bore you guys. I know it's hard when I'm just talking at the
No,
screen.
no, so good. I was really excited to hear your perspective and to learn more. I was like naturally drawn to the variegated leafing. And so before I ask you this question, if anyone else has any questions, feel free to write them in the Q&A and I'll get to them. But yeah, while we're waiting, so tell me, I'm familiar with Greenleaf, but I'm not familiar 100% with the process. And then I'm definitely not familiar with the variegated leafing. So tell me about that, like the technique of it.
Oh, the gold leaf?
Mm-hmm.
Like how I put it on, or?
Yeah, and the variegated. What is the difference between that and then just the regular gold leafing?
So the variegated goes through like a process where they burn it. I don't know how they get the color in it, but you can get it like with a blue tint, a green tint, a red tint, and a black tint. And I actually have all of them. It's kind of an expensive material, but my favorite painter, Barclay Hendricks, he used it in a lot of his later paintings, and I kind of study his catalogs like the Bible. So I'm looking at all the materials he's using. So while I'm at residencies and stuff like that, I just get new materials and I just play with them to see how they would look with my work. And I kind of just incorporate it. And once I got a hold of the variegated, it kind of just stuck.
Yeah, I really
Because
love
my
that.
paintings aren't really textural, right? It's flat, really.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the variegation adds more visual interest, and it makes the work pop even more. And it doesn't seem so flat, and it just pushes the figure forward. So I kind of like that effect. So yeah, eventually I guess I'll get away from it, but right now I'm all
No,
about the
I love it. Yeah, I love it. So you do you paint the figure first and then you come in like
yeah,
green leaf or gold leaf around it? Okay.
yeah. I get that question a lot. A lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, you can paint on top of the gold leaf. So I mean, there's some
Mm-hmm.
parts that are painted on top, but
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, and then my other question is, so how do you think the art scene in Raleigh has supported you? Because it feels like they really have like are really excited about what you're doing, and I feel like they've really like lifted you up. And do you think that has been critical? That scene there has been critical to your success?
I'd say yes. I think Raleigh has supported me the best they know how.
Okay.
Right. So I wouldn't say that Raleigh's like a super big art town,
Okay.
but I invite Raleigh in, right? So everything I do, I let them know what I'm doing. There are some really good collectors that I've met here, so I do a lot of studio visits. The city of Raleigh owns a piece of my work, right? They come to all my exhibitions. The the art museum owns a piece of my work, right? They come to my exhibitions, but I also, sent them all introduction letters. Anytime they ask me to do something, I show up. So I kind of built a relationship with them. But I mean, as with anything else, you still have to expand past the area if you want to grow. So I mean, this is always going to be home, but
Mhm. Yeah, I saw you had the residency in Chicago. So tell me about that.
that was awesome. So I'm actually represented by a gallery in Santa Fe,
Okay.
and they kind of have a relationship with the residency in Chicago. So like they asked me if it was something I would be interested in. So I went out there and made a couple paintings. Um, they sold on the spot. So Chicago has supported me now, right? So
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I can see why you're selling out for sure. Yeah. Um, all right. Well, I don't see any questions. We can give people a few more minutes. But in the meantime, thanks again so much for, how did you find out about the biennial to apply? Were you just scouting out
yeah, so I
applications?
saw it. I saw it. I think the year before, but I missed the deadline. So I put it on
Okay.
my calendar to check back when it came up to apply again.
Yeah.
And I know somebody that's in the show. I think her name Chico.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I know her because she's in Chapel Hill, but we've been in exhibitions together, and I saw she was in it, so I was like, oh, she did it. I probably should apply. And then
Yeah,
yes.
her works, and it's, y'all are in a different space, but yeah, I
Mhm.
did not know how to pronounce her name. Thanks for clearing that up.
I hope I pronounced it right. I'm on record now too.
Yeah.
I hope she doesn't see this.
Oh man. Well, thanks so much. Oh, we got a question. I have no formal art training, but love to paint. Do you have a recommendation of a resource? Also, do you know any artists showing artwork who have no formal art training?
um, no formal, so like with an instructor telling you what to do, or like no formal training, like I've never picked up a paintbrush before, because there's a difference.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know, but I feel like they're saying like, some kind of like education based school
I
background.
know plenty of self-taught painters, right? So technically, if we get into the details, I'm self-taught, right? I never took acrylic painting in the class anywhere, but I watched a lot of YouTube. I did a lot of studio visits with other artists. I asked a lot of questions and kind of figured out, and then it's just like practice. Do I know anyone without any formal training? I'd say no. I don't know anyone successful without. I mean, yeah, people like Basquiat, right? I don't think he had any
Hmm.
formal training, but I think in this day and age, it's kind of impossible not to have any real training because you can take a class or a workshop or anything, or just practice a lot. There's books, like I learn every day. Just keep making it work.
Yeah, I like the YouTube university
Yeah, I
comment.
YouTube, I Google, like,
Yeah.
and then if I have an artist that I like what they do, I'll email them like, hey, I'm not trying to copy your style, but how do you do this thing? How can I need to add this to my toolbox? Because I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing new under the sun, but everybody just knows shortcuts. So I really want to know, like, I don't want to take this class for 2 months to figure out how to do that. How did you do it? Right? It's usually like
Yeah.
something easy, but
Yeah. This person also said, thank you so much. This was wonderful.
you're welcome.
Um, and then I just want to say before we go that props to your wife for like pushing you and propping you up. And that's pretty incredible that
Thank you.
has kind of guided you like that.
I'll tell her. She's
So.
actually she's one of the attendees. So
Good job. I mean, I really can't imagine had she not done that. I feel like you really are meant to be doing this. So
thank you.
but all right, well, have a great rest of your evening, everyone. And Clarence, thank you so much. I hope to get to see more of your work in person. And definitely, if I get up to Raleigh, I'm going to try to see if I can find some of your art in those museums and those collections.
Of course. Studio
All
visit
right.
here.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to email.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Bye. Y'all have a great night.
I too.